Hey everybody, what up? Let's talk about how DeepSeek stole OpenAI's ChatGPT information and really about AI distillation. It's all so stupid but confusing at the same time. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, so DeepSeek is a Chinese AI company. It's a startup. They have about 200 associates. It was started in 2023, and it roiled the markets because it just announced this DeepSeek and said that it was basically $15 million to train it. And that's about 99% cheaper than OpenAI when it trained ChatGPT. And clearly that means big things for companies like NVIDIA that rely on selling really high-end expensive graphics cards. Things like this H100. This is roughly about, I think, $30,000 or so for this one graphics card. And according to DeepSeek, they were able to train on roughly 10,000 of these NVIDIA chips. So it's a smaller, faster, cheaper ChatGPT feature, really. It's actually trained for both the English language and the Chinese language, and that's actually going to help, obviously, people over in China because some of these models like Claude and AI and OpenAI's ChatGPT is better for the English language and not so good for Chinese or other languages out there. So what do all these benchmarks mean? It would take forever to go in here and explain all of it, and I can tell you right now I don't actually understand all of it, but you can see, obviously, they're saying DeepSeek version 3 here, previous versions, and then Llama, Claude, GPT-4o. Essentially, these different things mean things like how well it understands the English language. So basically, version 3 of DeepSeek beats Quinn and Llama, but it's slightly weaker than GPT-4o and Claude 3.5. As far as coding, it's slightly better than GPT-4o at coding. And then other things like math, it's better at math. And it's better, obviously, at understanding the Chinese language. The fact that it was so cheap to train has obviously spooked a lot of people in the markets. All right, so where the controversy comes in is after this was announced a couple days later, OpenAI, Sam Altman, they basically said, hey, this company has stolen our data. And they created a distilled model from our model. So we spent all this money to train our model, and then they just basically used our model to create a smaller, cheaper one by just interacting with our model and all the answers they provided and created their own model much cheaper. So basically they're accusing this Chinese startup of stealing their data. So here's an example of an article where somebody was asking DeepSeek, who is it? Basically, who am I or who are you? And it was saying that it was ChatGPT. So a lot of people were posting articles and tweets and things about the fact that it was spitting out this information like it was obviously trained from OpenAI. That said, when I'm running it locally, I can see that it actually was nerfed or changed by the time I downloaded it about a week ago. And you can see that it's denying the fact that it's using ChatGPT. All right, so when we talk about AI distillation, I mean, what are we actually talking about here? And basically, to break it down, I think in simplest terms, is that imagine like ChatGPT is the master chef and like he knows everything about baking cookies. Like DeepSeek is the student. What DeepSeek is doing is it's watching ChatGPT bake the cookies and it's writing down the recipe, but then it makes a smaller version of that result. So it basically keeps the most important parts. So an example of that would be like ChatGPT gives a lot of descriptions about preheating the oven to like 375, putting in 1 cup of softened butter, brown sugar, 2 eggs, all the ingredients listed out very detailed, and also explaining how to add those ingredients. Whereas DeepSeek would just be like, mix the butter, sugar, and eggs, put the oven on at 375 and bake for 10 to 12 minutes, right? So it's essentially taking the result of what OpenAI has and making a smaller version of that. That's distilling it. So OpenAI accuses DeepSeek of stealing their data to train their model. But where did OpenAI get their data to train their model in the first place? And the answer to that question is they basically took it, stole it, got it from the internet, read all the books and everything that they could get their hands on in order to train their model. There's currently lawsuits that are continuing to this day. Like here's 2 prominent authors, George R.R. Martin, the author of the Game of Thrones series, and then here's John Grisham, actually a fellow Virginian, who wrote a lot of one of the most successful authors, really, for fiction. But they're suing ChatGPT because they basically say that they stole their data to train their model. So really the accusations are flying around all over the place. OpenAI stealing data, DeepSeek steals data, I mean, everybody's stealing data. So all of this stuff is silly, as I said in the beginning of the video, because you have all these people out there that are basically like AI is going to change the world. A lot of people think that AI is actual general intelligence. We sort of moved the goalpost. We used to say that AI was general intelligence when we were talking about science fiction back in the day. And then now it's like, no, AI is just simply a very good pattern matcher, and general intelligence is the new AI. General intelligence meaning, can something actually think for itself, reason, understand, and figure things out? Now, ChatGPT and all these AI models can obviously figure things out, but how are they actually doing that? The interesting thing about how all this works, really, and I'm not an expert, so I'm just going to say forewarning right here, I've been a developer for almost 20 years, but it's guessing the next right word. So one of the reasons why these models, like here's DeepSeek, struggling with how many R's are in the word strawberry, which the answer is 3. This says that there is 2. This is a common question that you can trip up one of these models. And the reason why is because these AI models do not count letters. They're actually counting words. They're guessing the next right word. The reason why is because the way that it learns is like, if it's guessing, it like, for instance, it's not a calculator. If you ask it what is 2 plus 2, there's no reasoning involved there. It's actually just going to say 4 if it gets that right, because it's read on the internet and other places that 2 plus 2 is 4. Now, I guess you could also make the argument where you, like, for me as a child, I memorized the mathematical, the multiplication chart. So like 12 times 12 is 144. Like, I just sort of remember that. There's really no calculation there. It's all memory. I guess so you could make the argument that maybe this AI model is kind of operating the same way. But ultimately, I do have the ability to break out reason, and I can use a lot of mathematical knowledge that I've had throughout my life to figure out ways of solving a mathematical problem that's put in front of me without having to guess or memorize what the result is, which is ultimately what AI is doing by guessing the next right word. So when we go back to the strawberry example, it's not actually like breaking it down by letter. It's breaking it down by word. And that could even be like straw is a word, berry. What is strawberry? You know, it's trying to put those two together, two different things if you look at them individually, and something else if you look at them together. So ultimately, it's not a calculator. It just guesses what sounds right. DeepSeek is no different than OpenAI. They both struggle with this sort of thing. And ultimately what this means is that they both have flaws. They both stole their data. They're stealing from each other. We're ultimately going to continue to steal from each other, and probably should, as we build these models and make them cheaper and available to everybody so that no single company controls this technology. And I've actually said in a previous video, even if you had a company that somehow did that, like the federal government's going to step in. I mean, the United States government, military, whatever, would essentially just take over the project as soon as any sort of general intelligence comes about, because ultimately you're going to lead then to the singularity, I would imagine, at some point. And we're going to have much bigger problems at that point than just losing programming jobs. So going back to the example, artificial general intelligence is a system that thinks, reasons, learns, and can adapt. And ChatGPT and DeepSeek and all these other AI, ML models, these natural language processors, generative AI, it's a system that predicts the next most likely word. And it does that based on past data. And that past data comes from taking it from the internet, as I just mentioned. And in DeepSeek's case, they took it from OpenAI. All right, so anyway, these models are going to get better and better. I think as they get better and better, they're going to resemble AGI a little bit more and more. And we'll see where everything goes. But, I mean, I think we still have a long way to go before this thing is really like a thinking, reasoning, sentient being, as humans are, with a consciousness and all that. So should be interesting where we're going to go. But ultimately, Sam Altman is basically saying that the solution to this problem is going to be that OpenAI is going to basically release all of their models to the world. And he's promising that there's going to be newer models on the horizon. President Donald Trump is saying that he's been reading about China and some of the companies in China, one in particular coming up with a faster method. Anyway, well, this is ridiculous. But yeah, he basically says it's a positive thing. Yeah, OpenAI is going to change their strategy now so that I guess they can go back to being what they were originally going to be, which is what their name implies, that they're open AI, they're open to everybody. And we'll see how all that goes. So I think the DeepSeek thing is probably good. We need as much competition as possible. I think NVIDIA needs way more competition. This Stargate project, that's a $500 billion investment. I don't really know how I feel about that. I'll probably make another video on that. But let me know what you think. Are you guys feeling like OpenAI is in the wrong, or DeepSeek, or what? I'm curious what you think. Everybody have a great day. Please like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you later. Bye.